Welcome back to Right Answers Mostly, a podcast on what you didn't learn in history class.
But you really wanted to.
My name is Tess Palomo.
My name's Claire Donald.
And we are back. It's MLK Day.
It sure is.
We are improving our mental health little by little in LA.
Yeah, we're trying to. Today I was walking around in my costume for Tess's bachelorette party for one of the nights.
You were?
Yeah, and it did help improve my mental health too because, well, I can't even give too much away. It's a surprise. You guys, if you're on Premium, you know we've been talking about Tess's bachelorette and like the little details of it.
I have butterflies.
I sent a picture to someone. She's like, is that this morning? And I was like, sure.
Wait, so you walked around like your neighborhood in it?
No. No, the air quality is still not good here in LA. We're not doing that.
Don't be outside.
No, in my apartment. But it was like just good to be in costume in your apartment. You know, it was good for the mental health.
You guys, I'm so excited to see what everybody picks.
Yeah.
Well, I think also we will be sharing my bachelorette trip on Close Friends.
Yes, definitely. Throughout the weekend.
Throughout the weekend. So sign on up for Premium, $7.99 a month. 3 bonus episodes, access to close friends, all the deets of the personal lives are there.
Yep, you're only getting half the story if you're not on Premium. You know what I mean?
And we wish we could share more, but at the same time, we got to keep that shit tight.
Keep it tight. I know some people have like approached me in my life because they've seen like the episode titles and the descriptions. I'm like, please don't ask me questions unless you're a Premium member. You know what I mean?
It's Fight Club.
Yeah, it is Fight Club,
to say the least.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing well. I'm getting a haircut on Friday.
By Vince?
By Vince.
Oh, you angel.
Vince, we love you. I don't think you listen.
You definitely don't listen, but...
But he always asks a lot about it.
The man knows how to do blondes.
Oh, I know. Your blonde is looking good.
Well, thank you. That's actually from Arkansas.
It looks great.
Thank you.
But besides that, what else is going on? Any updates?
Any updates? I'm trying to think. I saw Baby Girl in theaters.
I still need to see it.
Yeah, we were talking about that. I can't wait to go see Nosferatu. Like, the movies are good right now. The movies are sexy right now.
Yeah, they're hot. They're hot little time.
Yeah.
But shall we get into today just for a really...
Those are our updates.
For a 180.
That's what we do here, you know?
It is. And guys, today we're gonna talk about our queen, about our spy.
I can't wait.
But before we get into that, because it is MLK Day, I was like, okay, let's do a little bit of history. It felt like it would be unfair to do a quick history of the king himself. Mm-hmm. But I was like, how the hell, you can't really, and you
like
shouldn't.
A literal king, Martin Luther King.
Exactly. And I was like, we can't do that in 5 to 10 minutes, but at some point we should.
Okay.
But I was like, it would be fun to know the history of how MLK Day became a national holiday. Because, Claire, do you think it was easy?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
It was not. So we're going to just do 5-10 minutes.
Seems like National Sibling Day is every day, but MLK Day becoming a holiday is impossible. Okay, guys, say it real quick.
So apparently...
That's for you, Adrian.
I once tweeted a very hurtful tweet. This was back in like 2012, and I don't know what came over me. But I tweeted, hey, guys, does anyone else feel like National Siblings Day is every other day? Quote, I love my brother just like the next guy, but come on.
Enough.
And so Adrian said that to me like a few years ago. He found it and he like sent me a screenshot and he was like, I see.
It's so hurtful.
And I was like, I have no idea what inspired me to do such a thing. But this is my public apology to you, Adrian, and National Siblings Day should be every day.
It should be every day. Exactly.
Okay.
But how did MLK Day come to be?
How did it come to be? So, Claire, on November 2nd, 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed the King Holiday Bill into law, designating the third Monday in January a federal holiday in observance of civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now let's back it up a little bit.
Shocked that it was Reagan, to be honest.
Well, he wasn't. You'll see.
Okay.
But your instincts are correct that he didn't like it at first.
Shocker.
The legislation to recognize Martin Luther King Jr. Day was first introduced just 4 days after his assassination on April 4th, 1968. However, it would take 15 years for the holiday to be approved by the federal government, an additional 17 years for it to be recognized in all 50 states.
Oh my God. Why? Well, I could guess probably what states were also fighting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all pretty predictable with this
Yeah.
country. So what happened? Okay, so Democratic Michigan congressman, this guy named John Conyers, who first proposed the bill on April 8th, 1968, so just a few days after he was assassinated. He was the one who really started it. And he continued to reintroduce the legislation every year with the support of the Congressional Black Caucus, which Conyers helped found. Quote, he said, "To me, King is the outstanding international leader of the 20th century without ever holding office. What he did, I doubt anyone else could have ever done." So John was like, guys, why is this even a question?
Also, it's like we have to have these holidays for the legacy. Like, never to forget, like, what he's saying.
That's a real fucking legacy. I mean, truly.
Yeah.
So in 1978, on the 50th anniversary of King's birth, the bill finally came to a vote in the House. It had 300,000 signatures. It had Jimmy Carter's support.
We've got to also do Jimmy Carter.
We really should.
And Roslyn, yeah.
We really, really should. And it was rejected.
Like, why? Why would you? What's the harm?
You know, probably white fragility.
Yeah.
Just being like,
so true.
So what? Like,
Yeah.
if I can't have a national holiday, why should he?
Totally.
I mean, you can just imagine those conversations. But you know what other king tried to really make this happen and who was so supportive of this becoming a holiday? A singer.
And they have king in their name?
No, but just a king.
Just like a king.
Yeah, it gets confusing now. There's kings and then there's kings.
That's true. And then there's kings. Yeah, okay.
I'll give you a hint. Happy birthday,
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Oh, also, we've got to cover Stevie.
That would be, I actually know like nothing about
Really fascinating.
his life,
Yeah.
which is a shame. So you know
And
that
the key of
Happy
life.
Birthday served as an ode to King's vision and a rallying cry for recognition of his achievements.
That his song?
Stevie Wonder wrote Happy Birthday for
Oh.
Martin Luther King.
Wow.
So he comes out with that song and he's like, guys, this is for him. This is so that like we can get essentially support and rally around this becoming official. So when the bill made it to the House floor in 1983, 15 years after the murder.
That is actually crazy. That's like the 80s.
Literally.
Yeah.
So now support was overwhelming. It amassed a 6 million signature petition in the favor of the holiday. And the bill easily passed in the House with a vote of 338 to 90. However, when the bill moved to Senate.
Oh my God. Also, who are those 90? How embarrassing for your soul. But it does.
We remember you.
We remember you. It also does make sense that in the 80s, it's like passing more. If it just happened, there's so many people who probably did not believe in anything MLK like stood for.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly. So this loser Republican North Carolina Senator Jesse Helms, we remember you. He attempted to dismiss the legislation and he submitted all these documents being like, look, a 300-page binder saying how MLK was a communist.
Oh my God. The communist thing is like actually crazy.
So he was like, we can't because he's a terrible person. So he has this binder and then Democratic New York Congressman Daniel Patrick Manahan threw the 300-page binder to the ground and stomped on it, and he described it as a packet of filth.
Oh my God. It's truly like a Real Housewives reunion, like when they're bringing props now, the binders.
Literally.
Oh my God. Get Andy in there.
Andy, please.
Get Andy in the Senate.
And so, thank God, after 2 days of debate, the bill passed in the Senate, and President Ronald Reagan reluctantly agreed to sign it.
It was actually reluctant?
Into law. Yeah, he didn't want to from the beginning.
Why?
Because
He's Ronald Reagan.
he's a gross man.
Yeah.
Who probably, was also racist.
We also need to cover Ronald Reagan, like Reaganomics and all of that stuff.
my God.
The 80s, like, wow.
80s were crazy.
Yeah.
So finally, yay, it's a national holiday, and it has been ever since. And we remember everyone that didn't want it to be.
Yeah.
And we talk about you here because you should be ashamed of yourself.
You should
you're
be
still
ashamed
alive.
of yourself. And obviously, we remember the man who,
Sing it.
made it all happen.
I got a
List of names and yours is in red underline. But I was talking about MLK on that point.
Oh.
But I'm always going to yes and you,
Yes.
you know?
Sorry, I'm just still in the...
Yeah, no, we're in the hate phase.
I feel, yeah.
Yeah.
You
It's
know.
frustrating. It's a frustrating time in life in general, and like
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we wanted to give a little brief history because today is also Beep's inauguration. So we want to highlight.
oh my God, I did not realize. Wow.
Yeah, we want to highlight that over monstrous behavior.
Thank you for beeping.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I will beep the whole episode.
100%.
We don't have the budget to
Yeah,
beep in editing.
we don't really know how to do that yet ourselves.
Yeah, actually, I just don't know how.
Yeah, and I want to take the time to learn. So,
Exactly. Okay, guys. So let's get into the subject of today. So today we're going to be talking about, I'm going to put in quotes, Mary Bowser, immediately debunking that that was not, her actual name was Mary Jane Richards.
okay.
Because she was only married to this guy, William Bowser, for like a hot second. And so that's what people call her. But she didn't, that marriage was kind of in and out. And so we're going to go by Mary Jane Richards.
Okay.
Sources today are really just two, Claire. We have Redacted History Podcast, which thank you for your service. Thank you for your work. When I first heard about this story and I was inclined to do it, I felt disappointed by the lack of like meat to the articles. It was kind of like, oh, there was this like really cool woman and here's what she did. And I was like, I don't know if this can be a whole episode because there's just not enough. Found this podcast. They dedicated their entire first season of Redacted History to Black history in the United States. There's a 3-parter on her. And I was like, thank God, because everything else.
There's a 3-parter? Wow. Amazing.
I mean, 3-parter, I think they're all 20 minutes.
Okay.
But more than I found on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Yeah.
But needless to say, Wikipedia is my second source.
Okay. Well, our stepfather has to come in.
Of course. But yeah, it's just like truly a case of us trying to erase Black history, especially Black women. And it was hard to find a lot on her, but thankfully we have an episode on her today.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. Okay, so who was Mary Jane Richards? What are we even going to be talking about today? Do you know, had you heard her name?
I am like, Mary Bowser sounds so familiar, but maybe it's just because we've been saying it.
Yeah.
I've never heard the name Mary Jane Richards. Mary Jane. Hey.
Well, we've heard that before, haven't we?
Yeah, we sure have.
We sure have.
But besides that, I really don't know anything about her. I don't actually really know what we're talking about today.
Well, what we were talking about, Claire, is Mary Jane Richards, who is celebrated as one of the earliest African-American women to serve as a spy during the Civil War. Her role as a Union spy working inside the Confederate White House was crucial to the Union War's efforts.
So Confederate White House.
Mm-hmm. She went in.
But wasn't Lincoln the president?
So Lincoln was the president, but there was something called, which I actually didn't know, there was a Confederate president at this time.
Oh, because they're like, we're our own thing.
Yes. Disgusting.
God, that's like the scariest place on earth.
Scariest place on earth. And
Solid core, and then solid core to put you in that category.
nowhere I'd really, terrifying. So Mary was born in May of 1840 in Richmond, Virginia, into slavery. We don't know her exact date of birth. I would like to believe.
Oh, what do we think her sign is?
I truly believe she's a Taurus.
Oh, love that.
And
okay.
she's May, so we have it. She'd either be a Taurus or a Gemini, right?
Yeah.
Oh God, it's actually hard to say. I feel like Tauruses like to be sneaky.
Yeah.
We like to get the tea.
Yeah.
We are intuitive, which I believe that she really was.
Okay.
She was very motivated and very strong-willed. So yeah, I think she's a Taurus.
I believe you.
And guys, like, there are some like small little missing pieces, like even like not being able to know her exact date of birth. You will see that in a few parts throughout the episode of just a little lack of that detail.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing, but we're going to do our best to try to like fill it in.
Yeah.
And do her justice. So she was born, her parents were named Minerva and Lewis. There was a unique situation. Her mom and her dad didn't live together because they were both enslaved by different masters. And she was with her mom, and her mom was owned by this family named the Van Loo family. The Van Loo family was like rich. The deceased grandfather of the family used to be the former mayor of Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
So they had like family money, and then he decided to move the family to the Richmond area. So it's like truly just what you'd expect. It's like this rich, bougie, gross family.
Yeah.
And the parents had 2 kids, one being Elizabeth Van Lew, who we will hear a lot about in this story.
Okay.
And they enslaved 6 Black people in their house, 2 of which were Mary and her mom.
Okay.
So Mary's dad, who didn't live with them, was forced to work as a blacksmith, and he was owned by this man named Mahon, who was truly trash.
Was he close by?
He was close by. They could spend Sundays together, the one day a week they could spend together, and his owner did let him do that. I don't know exactly how far they were. I'm sure it wasn't like an easy journey even to get to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And once Mary was old enough, she was forced to work in the Van Lew house cleaning, along with her mom. And I think her mom also more like took care of like the children.
Mm-hmm.
So what was Mary like as a child? She was very inquisitive. Her mom always taught her, be aware of your surroundings. Always keep your ears and eyes open like a spy.
Oh.
Because she was like, you're going to hear some information one day that will be useful to you and then be useful to us. So her mom like put this trust in her of like, I'm looking at you because like you just have this like very curious nature and you are going to be able to help us one day.
You got it. And like also a prophecy. Oh my God. The
Prophecy. Low on your list. Low on your list
Low on my list.
of the tortured poets.
Oh, yes.
I thought you loved it.
No, I think it's mid.
Oh, is it?
If you guys don't know, on Close Friends, I put a list of my rankings of the Torture Poets department. Again, join Close Friends or join Premium. And
Please.
the prophecy is like medium. If there's 32 songs.
No, I know.
Sorry, I
No,
digress.
no. And that wasn't to blame. I just was. It's hard though because the whole album is so good.
I know. And when people are like, why is this so low? It feels like an attack because you're like, I'm trying my best.
No, it wasn't an attack.
No, I know it wasn't.
It was an observation.
Yeah.
And that's why I texted Claire too. I was like, I'm about to like respond to this, but I don't want you to feel attacked.
But it's not an attack, okay?
Oh, we digress. So when Mary was 5 or 6, it was discovered that she had photographic memory. Not sure how that's discovered.
Well, probably just because people are like, how would you?
Yeah.
Photographic memory is crazy.
It's like you can just remember anything based off of like, even like seeing like a piece of paper that like says like
Yeah, I think
dates, then you just remember from that.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
I think you could also be like, 6 years ago, I was wearing a blue shirt, or you were wearing a blue shirt with something on. Like, I don't know.
Damn.
I think it's crazy, things like that.
Yeah, I mean that is wild. And so people are like, you have a photographic memory. And then people are like, can you read? And she was like, of course I can't read. Because remember,
Right.
it was dangerous to white people if Black people could read or write. That scared them.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously she lied about reading, but she could read because you know who was teaching her to read?
Elizabeth. Oh my God.
We love women helping women.
We love it.
And we love Elizabeth.
Okay.
Elizabeth is a good part of this story.
Were they the same age?
I think Elizabeth was a few years older than her.
Okay.
Like if Mary was like 6 at this time, I think Elizabeth was like maybe like 9 or 10.
Okay.
But that is not for fact. But that's kind of like what I'm guessing from the story. So Elizabeth was a liberal queen.
Oh.
So she went to go study. I don't know exactly what grade, like maybe middle high school times at a Quaker school.
Oh. The Quakers.
My mom went to a Quaker college.
Really?
And when I was little, I, in my mind, always thought it was like Amish.
Well, I mean, you do see the Quaker oats, and then you see that vibe.
Yeah, so I always was like, oh, so you had to wear like a bonnet and like
The fashion
the fashion in the 70s.
of the old Quakers maybe was similar to
Right. Yeah. But
Amish.
they, modernized, and my mom wasn't wearing bonnets when she was in the 70s in college, if you know what I'm saying. Not wearing bonnets at all. So she went to a Quaker school, and Quaker beliefs were against slavery.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, no, not, this is so fucked up. And so Elizabeth gets back from school, and she's like, I just learned from the Quakers that we should not enslave people.
I'm actually shocked that her parents let her go to that school.
That's what like I couldn't really figure out. I mean, obviously they owned slaves.
Yeah.
But then also like when it was discovered that Mary could read, Mr. Van Lew was like, he knew about it too for a second. And he was like, you shouldn't tell people about this because you'll be taken to Richmond's whipping post to be punished for the entire town to see.
Oh my God.
So he's not like a hero.
I wonder if it's like almost like what we saw with Catherine the Great, where she's like, yeah, serfdom isn't great. I know that, but am I going to really do anything really to change it, get rid of it? He's like, I'm benefiting off of this, but just so you know, I don't think it's great.
Exactly. But
I don't know if that's how he felt.
That's kind of like, I couldn't really get the vibes of the parents. Seems like he was like a rich business guy. The mom almost seemed checked out. Like,
wow.
She truly almost reminded me of like a Meredith Marks.
Yeah, we see that a lot.
It just seemed like she was like disassociating almost.
Yeah.
So they did allow their daughter to go to a Quaker school, which like, thank God, because Elizabeth was really the one to come back and be like, you guys, it's not good.
Yeah.
So when she came back from school, she had this realization of like, okay, I'm in a position of privilege and I can do something in this household and like we can start there. But then Mr. Van Loo dies.
Okay.
The dad dies somehow and Elizabeth is like sad, but also now I have a little bit more power because the mom is just like, you do whatever you need.
She's
like
checked
I'm
out.
Just laying in bed all day.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough.
So Elizabeth is like, interesting. She's like, I think I have a plan. So one Christmas Eve, Claire, Elizabeth invites Lewis, Mary's dad, over to the house for Christmas dinner. He was able to go. I'm not sure how or why. But he arrives and the table is set for 11 people. And Elizabeth had invited all of her family's slaves to dinner. So the table is set up and all of them are like, are we supposed to be serving you? She's like, sit down, let's chat.
Oh, wow.
So everyone sits down with her and it's like a very like tense scene. And Lewis and Mary and Minerva all sit together. They all ate together. And Elizabeth is like, okay, I have an announcement. This year, I celebrate Christmas in my own right. My mother agreed to sell me her slaves so I can set them free. And she's like, I just got a pretty penny for my dad dying.
The inheritance.
The inheritance, honey, is good.
Wow.
And so she's like, I think that this plan could be fairly easy. I'm going to draw up freedom papers for all of my family's previous slaves. They'd remained employed by me for several months, so no one's going to be like, no, it's not going to be fishy because like they're still like employed by her. And then they all will have some money in savings.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. So everyone's like, okay, like, is this too good to be true? Like, I think this kind of makes sense.
I mean, how could you not feel like that, you know?
Exactly. But the thing is that Mary and her mother had their freedom, but Lewis didn't. I know.
Oh my God.
And whatever his stupid guy's name is, Mahon or whatever, he refused to sell Lewis.
Oh my God. To Elizabeth? Did Elizabeth offer?
Yes. She was like, what can we? And he was just like, he said no because, quote, good blacksmiths are hard to come by.
Oh, fuck off.
We hate you. Trash.
Not for us.
And there was also this horrific law in Virginia stating that enslaved Black people had 1 year to leave the state or risk being arrested and sold right back into slavery.
Oh my God.
When you were sold back in, you were separated from your family. So it was just one of the many laws used to dehumanize Black people and to keep them trapped.
Also, like, moving out of the state is so dangerous and so hard to do.
And also, like, imagine just how scary, like, even if you're free, where do you go? And also it's not like, oh, you leave and then everything's all hunky-dory.
Yeah, and you don't get in a car and just like take the highway down. Also, it's so crazy. Like, Virginia does seem close to like the northern states, but like thinking of that time, that's really hard to get to.
I know. It's like Richmond's 250 miles away from Philadelphia, and Philadelphia was a free was a free state. Yeah. I think at that point, when she was born, actually, I had read, it only had 64 enslaved people.
In Philadelphia? Wow, I'm surprised. I guess I didn't realize that they could. But I mean,
I know. Because like Richmond, when she was born too, was like it wasn't like, well, we know what Richmond's about to be in a few years. It's going to be the Confederate capital.
Yeah.
But at that time, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, what are you supposed to do in this situation? Mary and her mom are like, okay, so we have a couple of options. We could head north, never see Lewis again. Do we wait it out here? And Mary and Lewis are like, you know what? Elizabeth can help us. And I think what we should do is prioritize Mary. And
Minerva
I think
and Lewis were
Minerva,
like that.
Minerva and Lewis are like, we should prioritize our daughter.
Oh, my God.
And I think we should send Mary to school in the North because she's young. You know, she's kind of like the, you know, our only hope in this way. And Mary's mom is like, you know, Elizabeth, please have my papers redrawn every month or so until my husband is free. We'll stay here. We'll develop, you know, since you'll be giving us a monthly allowance, we'll have savings.
So you had to like keep redrawing papers.
You had to keep
you couldn't just say it once.
No.
Oh my God.
No.
Yeah, they're like not going to make this easy.
Yeah, and not in Virginia. So that's the plan. So at age 11, Mary goes to Philly.
Oh.
And she goes to a...
Also so scary to go to a big city by yourself at 11?
Literally during this... In the 1850s?
No.
Like, terrifying.
Terrifying.
So she spends her adolescent and young adult years in Philadelphia at an all-girls boarding school.
Wow. Do you know if the boarding school was integrated?
I think it was because she started doing like she started doing like she was in like this anti-slavery society, which was interracial. It was mostly white women who wanted to help, but there were a few black women. So I think at this point, I think it was interracial. But here she meets an entire network of freed Philadelphia black people. She's really like getting shaped by this experience because it's just very different than Richmond.
I think how young she is.
She's like 11.
So
being
crazy.
Like, holy shit. But this is also a time where she was like, okay, like all of these things are really amazing to do and see and like to feel like I have a little bit more freedom. But she was like, what even is freedom? She's like, because in the eyes of white people, she's like, I'm, quote, free, but I can't eat where I want. I can't sit where I want. I can't look at anyone the way that people look at me. I still don't have access to what white people do. So she's kind of feeling like, is this it?
What even is it? Yeah.
Like, what's the point of any of
What's the
this?
best we can get? Yeah.
So she's also like kind of depressed. But during this time, she and Elizabeth keep getting closer and they're writing to each other constantly. And Mary is like, Elizabeth, this is what it's like here, but I'm still feeling like really frustrated because I just still feel like I'm not an equal. And Elizabeth is like, I just like wish I could like help more, like keep telling me, keep like giving information to me. I'll do what I can. And this is very sad. During this time, her mom dies. Minerva dies. Or I guess it's actually been a few years because Minerva dies when Mary is 16 from a bad fever.
Oh my God. It's just like, yeah.
And being like, my mom never even got to like see her own freedom.
It's also been so long since she's seen her.
It's been years.
Oh my God.
And she's been communicating with her family, but she hasn't seen her mom and then she dies. So she's feeling like guilty now a little bit and obviously heartbroken. But this really gets her motivated to free her dad.
Oh my God.
So Elizabeth has been communicating with her dad, but through Elizabeth because her dad can't read or write.
Well, and like I feel like they got to be more careful about what information they're passing on because it seems like what's his face.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't just
a dick.
You
so.
truly can't say anything. In these, you know, like everything has to be pretty, like incognito. So they're like communicating. Mary becomes a member of the Underground Railroad. And she meets this woman, which we don't know her name. She was being enslaved by her master who sexually abused her. And this woman ends up killing him and needing to go on the run.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I'm like, who is this? Who is this woman's name? Because that could be a whole episode
A whole episode on it, yeah.
So Mary meets her, finds out that she did this, and she was like, props to you. She's like, love.
Fuck yeah, girl.
She's like, go off. And so she's like, I'm going to help you escape to New York. We're going to get a community around. And so then she starts like helping enslaved women escape.
Wow.
And they were the same age. And so that really like did something to Mary.
And then again, she must have this thing of like, how did I get to be here?
Exactly.
You know?
The guilt, I mean, so many emotions I cannot imagine. But she's very like motivated by this. And then also at this time, Do you know what the John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry is?
I don't think so.
I didn't know what this was either. So this was an effort by abolitionist John Brown, October 16th to the 18th in 1859, to initiate a slave revolt in southern states by taking over the United States Arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia. It has been called the dress rehearsal, or the tragic prelude to the American Civil War.
Oh, wow. This was like what is getting it started?
This is when white people were like, oh, they don't like this? Like, should we be concerned?
Is John Brown white or black?
He's white.
He's white, okay.
So, yeah, I think like a lot of black...
But he's the one who was like, fuck this.
Yes. So he had 22 men in his party that all decided to do this. They were defeated. It did not go well.
Oh, no.
Did not go well. They were defeated by some U.S. Marines led by First Lieutenant Israel Green. 10 of the raiders were killed during the raid. 7 were tried and executed after, and 5 escaped. Several of those present at the raid would later be involved in the Civil War. Robert E. Lee.
Oh, God. He was like
He was there like fighting them. He was in overall command of the operation to retake the arsenal. Stonewall Jackson and Jeb Stuart were among the troops guarding Brown. And John Wilkes Booth.
What is that little fucker doing here?
He's always like pops up. Just want to like put him back down.
Truly.
Was a spectator at John Brown's execution.
John Wilkes Booth had way too much free time.
Get a fucking, we know you like theater.
Yeah,
but
well, that's what he was doing. This was his hobby, is going to like watch terrible things and making terrible plans.
Exactly. John Brown had originally asked Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, both whom he had met in his years as abolitionist in Massachusetts, to join him at the raid, but they were like, no. Harriet was sick, and Frederick Douglass was like, I'll pass.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
very bold.
Well, they both told him, they were like, John, this plan is suicidal.
Yeah, exactly.
And
because they had, 22 men, you said? Mm-hmm. Honey.
But this kind of was, like I said, like this prelude to the Civil War, because I think white people were like, oh, now they're getting angry, and I think we should be scared.
Things are happening.
Yeah.
It's bubbling.
So Mary is like, well, fuck. And I guess during the raid, her apartment, wherever she was living, burned down.
Oh, my God.
From whatever happened after, and riots on the street and all of that. So she was like, I think I actually might die if I stay here now. So she was like, you know what? I think I got to go back.
And this is still in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's going to go back.
She's like, I got to go back.
I'm shocked that she's not like going to New York.
I know. Well, okay. I think she actually wants to go back to be with her dad, or to be closer to him.
That makes sense.
Because I think she's like, I want to be part of the fight, but I think I need to go back to where it's like worse, because I'll be more helpful there.
Yeah.
So
reconnect with Elizabeth.
So she's like, all right, guys, I'm going back to Richmond, Virginia, and we're going to take a quick break here. Oh. And when we return, shit gets crazy. Guys, we're back, and we just did have a little laugh about how Claire was like, how did you start doing all the Civil War episodes?
Like the girl who always takes the pop culture history.
And also, I was like, I never want to do anything about war. Like, I'm so intimidated.
And here she is.
And this is growth.
Round 2,
honey. And there could be a round 3 soon. You just never know. I'm like, is this
already so many things that we've talked about? I'm like, oh, well, we should do an episode on that.
I know, like we should do an episode on Harriet Tubman.
Yep.
Oh, guys, that's why it's endless.
Mm.
So Mary's back. She's back in Richmond, Virginia. She's like, I got to get some help to start some shit here. Like, I got to have a team. Got to have an army of skanks.
An army of skanks. Her bitch pack.
Literally. And so she's like, I've heard of this guy. His name's Thomas McNiven. And he is an Irish abolitionist. You know who I like imagine him looking like?
Paul Mescal?
No. Who's the little Irish actor?
Barry?
Oh, God. He's like from the early 2000s. Why can't I think of him? Lord of the Rings?
Oh, Irish? Or I imagine
him looking like James McAvoy. You know who that is?
Oh, yeah. He's in like a lot of the scary movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a sweet soul.
Is James McAvoy Irish?
Or he's Scottish, right?
I have no idea.
I don't know why James McAvoy's popping up.
Irish Rammies and Scottish Rammies, let us know.
Let us know.
They're like, he's from Kentucky.
But for some reason, and he's a sweet soul.
Okay.
So she had heard about Thomas, and she was like, he is helping enslaved people escape. Let me talk to him. He's my boy. So Thomas is connected to Mary through the cousin of Mary's former school teacher, who's this guy who's a barber named William Bowser.
Oh, so maybe some Levenge on the horizon.
There's not much about their relationship, but obviously this is the man that she will marry at some point in the story. It doesn't really say when or where, but she does marry William. And
He's the school teacher?
he's a barber, but they're connected through the cousin of her former school teacher. It's like
We need a tree.
we need a tree, but they're connected somehow. And she's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw something that like they didn't really have. It wasn't like love.
Yeah.
I don't know. God, I wish we knew more. I can imagine it's just a very stressful time.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like, all cupcakes and roses.
No kidding.
So she does meet back up with her father when she gets back home, and she goes to Lewis, and he is so depressed.
Oh.
And she's like, oh my God, he's aging terribly. The harsh conditions because he's working 6 days a week. He has arthritis, and he's forced to live in a 5x5 shed in the back of the property.
Oh my God. A 5x5?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yep. So he's literally, torture.
Oh my God.
Torture. And he says something along the lines to Mary is like, you wasted your opportunity for freedom by coming back here and coming back to see me. And he's like kind of like angry about it.
I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can't imagine what it's like being a parent and like you only want your kids to go forth. And
Yeah, you're like, why come back here? And like, and it's just getting worse. And so Mary's like, okay, that's hurtful. She's kind of like, this is not the reunion that I had expected. And Elizabeth is like, girl, get back over here and let's chat and like, let's start doing shit together. And so Elizabeth is so happy to see her. And she's like, let's brainstorm.
Mm-hmm.
And so Elizabeth is like, Mary, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the war is about to get terrifying. Like, this is different than even 2 months ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, the stakes are so high. Little AB is president now.
Okay.
November 6, 1860. So he's president. South Carolina succeeded immediately in December of that year. Seceded. What did I say? Succeeded? Seceded.
Seceded. I think.
And then Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama followed right after. James Buchanan.
What a crazy time. I cannot.
Nightmare.
Nightmare.
James Buchanan, he's the president before Lincoln. Yeah, he's the 15th president.
Okay, then
yes. He's trash. He's doing nothing to help. Classic. And he's done nothing to help. And Elizabeth is like, that Virginia's next. Like, we no longer live in this place that's kind of like, oh, we're like sort of close to Philly.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, shit's crazy. Because on April 12th, 1861, Richmond is now the Confederate capital.
It's just like crazy how it could be like, oh yeah, we're kind of close to like the north, and all of a sudden it's like the belly of the beast.
No, I know. Like, yeah, like you think that you're sort of, it makes my stomach hurt to think about it. And so Elizabeth is like, you need to pose as my slave again. Like, we just got to keep everything, like we don't want to like ruffle any feathers. And so this is where things get crazy. This is where we're going to start talking about some spy stuff. So Elizabeth she has friends all around town. Elizabeth is just like, I'm keeping my eyes open.
Yeah. Do people know that she's a Quaker, and are they kind of like, ugh?
People know.
Okay.
But she has good people that like they're about to form this team of, people that are trying to help. But she's kind of known as like, and you'll see this like throughout her whole life, like she's alienated because she's doing the right thing. So Elizabeth got intel that there were Union soldiers being held in a tobacco factory in Richmond. And Elizabeth is like, you know what? We got to go tonight. We got to go. I have a horse. I have a carriage. Let's bring them food. Let's bring them water. Let's see if they need anything. let's go help them. You can come and pose as my slave. Let's just like keep acting.
I'm just like, how are you going to get in?
Well, they did get in. On Redacted podcast, it doesn't really say the details, but he says that Elizabeth used her whiteness to get past the guard.
She's probably just like, I'm here.
Exactly, like I'm here to, who knows what she said.
Yeah.
And Mary is posing as her slave. And so they get in and they pass out food and water, and they're talking to these soldiers. And they see this soldier, and he's like, honestly, someone take my food, take my water. I just want to get a message back to my family. That's the one thing I want to get. I know. And Mary is like, I have a book with me. I guess she brought a book, which I'm like,
well, you just always have to have a book on you.
that's true.
You just never
it's
know.
it's a journey to get there. She probably wanted to read. I mean, if she doesn't get car sick.
Carriage sickness.
Carriage sickness. Can you imagine?
Oh my God. No, a carriage.
The
bumps would be out of control.
Just flying up
always
and down.
when you like watch a show and you see them.
Yes, just like going back and forth. God.
How could you even hold a book?
Oh my God. God bless her.
Oh man.
She does so much, but she has a book and she's like, don't write anything in this book, but mark something. Because like we just, we're
you just never know. Yeah.
if the guard asked to, she's like, so just write something. And
Or mark something.
Mark something. Mark something. And she's like, make sure that, and she says something along the lines of like, because she's playing a part. She's like, I don't want my crazy bitch master Elizabeth to be seeing this. And he's like, right?
Yeah.
Am I right? So she's playing along. They're all playing a little game.
Wow.
And so they get back home and Mary looks through the book and there's this line in the book and it says, there is one mind of this history. And he underlined every letter in that to spell out his name.
Oh my God. People are so smart.
I have chills.
I have chills too.
And so she's like, Timothy?
Timothy?
She's like, Timothy Chalamet?
You're here? Wow, he knows no bounds.
He knows no bounds. He's always with us. And so Mary is like, shit, this is good. She was like, she's like, I should be a spy. Like this literally motivated her that she was like, I'm going to keep going back there and we are going to keep doing some messages. We're going to do codes. I'm going to bring this book. They can mark it. And so she would go every night with Elizabeth and they just started getting all of these like codes from soldiers with information.
Wow. That's so cool.
And then she would smuggle these codes to Thomas McNiven, our little James McAvoy.
Oh, yes.
Who would smuggle this information to North to the Union.
Well, because they're probably hearing, if they're like prisoners of war, they're hearing shit that the Confederates saying.
Exactly. So they are all now like speaking to each other and communicating.
Wow.
Which is just crazy. So Elizabeth is like, look, there's word on the street is that we're up to something.
Oh no, it's starting to get out.
It's like,
well, they're like, why are you?
I think people are just like, there's these two women that are just here every night. Like, and Elizabeth is like, I'm not scared.
Oh my
but
God.
we need more power in numbers. We need more people in our team. We need to like.
I'd be scared if I were you, Elizabeth. A little scared.
I would be very scared.
Yeah.
This is like risky.
No.
And it's the start of the war and it's crazy. But Elizabeth was very proud. And she kind of was like, nah, everyone hates me anyway. Like, I'm lonely and I want to try to do something that was going to make a difference. Somehow they were able to like do it more efficient than having Thomas like ride horses like constantly to smuggle these. Somehow they were getting them up north even quicker. I'm not sure how.
Okay.
But, you know, war is getting very bad. There's so many like federal and Union blockades everywhere. Things are getting like tricky. But Elizabeth and Mary now have a special type of paper and all the code words like on this paper. So like they literally now have like a language that they're doing everything very quickly.
That's crazy.
I know.
And then you just have to have like so many people be in on it with you though.
I know.
It's like such a game of telephone that everyone has to like be on their shit.
And there can't be one mistake.
One.
There's no room for that. So one night, Mary is visiting her mother's grave and she's trying to get some answers. She's like, I'm going to go talk to my mom. Mm-hmm. I just like need like, you know, this is stressful times. Mm-hmm. I just need to like connect with her. And she realized she's being followed.
No.
There is an arm that grabs her suddenly.
No.
And she looks back and it's Thomas.
Thomas? Wait, who's Thomas?
Thomas, James McAvoy.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Our Irish
James
king.
Okay, yes.
And Thomas is like, Mary, we need to talk. I've been trying to find you. And she's like, I know, like, where have you been? And he's like, I have heard so much information. I've been like thinking of you this entire time. And he's like, look, I've been disguising as a slave owner. I have read something that could be very useful to all of us. And he's like, Elizabeth, keep her out of this. Like, she's fine, but she needs to keep doing what she's doing.
Okay.
Like, at this point, you can't be very helpful, like posing as her slave, but she can keep using her whiteness and like doing what she's doing. But for you, let's get you on the inside. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Thomas? And he's like, I have a job for you that could be very powerful. It's someone that is, needs to be smart and very on top of it. And, intuitive and all of the things. And he's like, I saw an ad in the papers for a maid and a servant girl for Jefferson Davis. Jefferson Davis was an American politician who served as the first and only president of the Confederate States from 1861 to 1865.
Oh my God. It's just like, how do you not like spit in all of his food?
I don't know.
I
don't know. God, yeah.
Like to be like, now I have to go do this.
The strength, the patience.
But you can't stop a spy from spying.
Exactly. She always knew that she was going to spy. And so he was like, let's infiltrate the Davis residence. He's like, you're going to pretend to be his maid. You're going to take care of his stupid kids. And they're moving to Richmond. It's all perfect. And so she's like, I could actually do this. She was like, okay. She tells her husband, and he's like, that sounds so sketchy. Like, you are putting yourself in such a dangerous position.
Truly.
And she's like, think about what I could listen to, the gossip I could get. We could keep doing like what we're doing now, but I literally have verbatim their plans and like all of it. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll help you.
Okay.
He's like, go and I'll help. And he's like, I'll now help transport information. Like, we'll keep doing like the messages and the codes and I'll be a part of it. So they have an army of skanks now. They have their spy team. They have Elizabeth. They have Thomas, Mary, and Mary's husband.
What's his name again?
William.
Oh yeah, William Bauer. What?
William Bowser.
Oh, isn't Joe Alwyn's pseudonym William Bauer?
Yes.
Wow.
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 Wow. It's folklore vibes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So they're ready to go, and Mary starts working in the Davises' home for 2 years.
2 years? I mean, I guess you have to like establish yourself in this.
You have to establish yourself.
And the war was long.
The war was long. Also, like at first, it probably takes some time to figure out like how far you can push it.
Yes, definitely.
And yeah, also for like them to end up trusting her so they could say a little bit more and be loose-lipped.
Sink ships all the damn time.
Truly. So she goes by the name of Molly here.
Okay.
She doesn't say her name is Mary. She lies about everything, of course, because it's like she has to protect herself. Her job is to look after his kids. In the podcast, it said she hated all of them.
I mean, if
just like slamming down, feel like, here, eat that.
Yeah, I don't blame her. Nanning's tough
rats.
in the first place.
No kidding. And then you're like, your
In this
dad
situation
is a
trash.
trash.
Yeah.
She had to clean, she scrubbed floors. And when she's working at the Davises, her dad dies of smallpox.
Oh, smallpox. Like, truly ruins everything.
Smallpox does ruin everything. We just were talking about smallpox last week, you guys.
Yeah.
So he dies, and this gives her, like, once again, a fire inside of her to be like, all right, I'm going to push it a little bit more. Like, let's see what I can get. So during her downtime, Claire, she would sneak into his office when he wasn't there.
I'm so scared. Like,
I know.
it's crazy.
She'd look through his desk and see, and, there's not much. It's not like there's, like, a war plan.
Yeah.
Just, like, right out there, or whatever that even means. But actually there was. Because she found a correspondence basically from the Confederates saying, we are about to attack the Union by the mouth of the Jones River. We look forward to this historical voyage. So what does she do?
She goes and tells.
She goes and tells her team.
Oh my God. Wow. What good intel.
Good intel, boom, spy shit, and they don't end up attacking because then the
Union was ready for them.
The Union is ready, so they didn't go to the mouth of the Jones River, did they?
Oh my God.
They were like, oh, we won't go there. Thank you.
Oh my God.
I know.
And then they're like, how did they find out?
I know. And you know what? Then she's like, okay, so she's starting to do things like this. And like,
Oh, that would like make me so much more motivated too. I'm
my
like, all right,
God.
we did. Well, she needed that probably.
she needed that.
Yeah.
And so then she's like, all right, this is actually kind of easy.
Yeah.
And also like everyone that lives here is kind of an idiot because she was like, they would talk so loudly in front of me. Like as I would be like pouring them a drink, they would just all be like, so today we're going to like.
That doesn't surprise me though, because these people were such trash and didn't see the people that they enslaved as human.
Exactly, Claire. They were like, what? She's probably not going to understand this.
Yes.
She's not going to know what we're talking about. Why would she even care?
And what fools they were.
What fools. So she was just like, you know what now I'm doing? I'm just listening. I'm listening.
Oh my God.
And I'm being quiet. And that's giving me all the information I need. So through gossip, listening to literally these little assholes gossip, she deferred a lot of these attacks that the Confederates were going to do to the Union.
I just like, it would also be so hard not to get information and immediately like go run now. Also, it's like you can't like write that down immediately.
Exactly.
So you have to like really.
Well, and thank God for the photographic memory.
Oh my God, that's right.
Because you can't, just like pull out your phone and be like, Jones River.
Yes.
Like, let me remember. So, but she's remembering all of this.
Oh my God. Wow.
So through her time working there, she would see and hear about battle plans, information about shipments, weapon deliveries, and she was able to stop a lot of these from happening.
And he's like, how do they know?
Yeah, he's like, I am learning it. So she, would transfer all this information to her team. She helped Elizabeth in instigating the Libby prison break, which I didn't know what this was, but it was a prison escape from Libby prison, a Confederate prison in Richmond, Virginia in February 1864 that saw over 100 Union prisoners of war escape from captivity.
Wow.
She helped with that. It was one of the most successful.
100?
100.
That's crazy.
It was one of the most successful prison breaks of the American Civil War.
Wow.
And Mary just helped with all of this. And by April of 1865,
she was all of this. No one else could have got this information.
No, she was this.
Wow.
She did this. It's crazy. So the war is over in 1865. The war is over. The Union had won the war. Jefferson Davis and his people had fled, losers.
Yeah, what ended up happening to him? Do you know? Like, did they die?
I don't know where he went.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Crazy.
And like we hear, like even in our John Wilkes Booth episode, it was like, yay, the Union had won and Abe Lincoln, yay, like Mayor, and that's why these stories are so important because it's like we can't always and we shouldn't always just be congratulating these like white leaders.
Yep.
Even if they're on the right side of history, like it's women like this that like change what happened.
She made it happen.
She made it happen
and saved so many people's lives through that.
Literally,
the ripple effects of that, like yeah.
I know, but yeah, she did. So the war, her team, all the kids that have been working so hard, it all kind of disintegrates. Thomas sails off to God knows where. He just sails off and he's like, my work here is done. He's like, I'm very tired.
Hey, thanks, King.
Thank you, King. Thank you, James McAvoy. Her husband, they got divorced before the war ended. Timeline, literally nothing really out there, but they weren't married for long. And then I think he died sometime. So she's a single woman. Elizabeth actually got an open thank you from Ulysses S. Grant.
Wow.
For all the work that she did. Of course, it's the white woman that's, celebrated.
It's like the white savior complex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she spent the rest of her life alienated and broke.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And she died September 1900. So I don't know exactly when she was born. I'm guessing she died in like her 30s.
1900? God, it's just like everything that she saw.
Literally.
It's so
and
crazy.
that she died with like no support. It's just sad.
That is sad.
And Mary kind of faded into the shadows. Like what I could find on her time after she did this was that she taught Black women in schools and founded a free men's school in Georgia.
Wow.
In 1867, so just 2 years after the war ended. She would lead some lectures in the North. And so she had her time of like, being a figure that people were like, oh my gosh, tell us about your
Yeah.
story, but not on like a worldly
Like
scale.
even the way that Elizabeth got like
Exactly. And
recognition from grants.
Exactly. She never got like the official,
Yeah.
praise and thank you. But there was, and she always went as pseudonyms, her name.
Wow.
So she was doing like some lecture as Richmonia Richards, and the Anglo-African, a black newspaper published in New York. Someone described her because they went to one of her lectures, which I like to hear a little bit about, like what she's like. And they said that she was very sarcastic and at times humorous.
Oh.
So I just like knowing that she just also like was a witty gal.
Yeah, love that.
And had a good sense of humor.
Also, she just like kept carrying on.
She kept carrying on. But she did remarry. I don't know to who. But she did die at only 28 years old. And we do not know what she died from. And that's kind of like...
What? 28? Mm-hmm. What are you talking about? This whole time when you're like going to lecture, I'm like thinking like late 40s.
No, because I
just got the chills, like my legs.
I know.
28.
I had finished my research kind of at like, oh, she's like this. And then last night I was like, oh my God, I never put when she died. So I went back and I was like, okay, like let's try to find this. I bet that she had like a long life. I pictured her dying in her 50s, 28.
That is so upsetting.
And we don't know why. And we don't know how.
That's also upsetting. Like she deserves to have her like full legacy told.
I know. Yeah, I could not find anything. The podcast didn't say how she died. If anyone listening does know, I mean, I really just could not find it, and I wish I could. But that is Mary Jane Richards, quote Mary Bowser, but we are going to say her real name because we're not going to give her the name of her husband that she didn't like very much.
Wow.
So that is Mary Jane Richards.
What an icon.
What a queen.
Oh my God. How brave.
I know.
Oh, Tess, I was truly like on the edge of my seat the whole time.
I really enjoyed the research. And at first I like did feel discouraged because I was just like, what the fuck? Like, how can I do an episode on these 3 paragraphs? And thank God for redacted history. I'm just gonna say it one more time. Like, I'm so grateful that host like just dove into all of that research in detail. But yeah, what an icon.
Ugh, I mean, like, wish that the story was told more, but like, go tell people about it.
I know. And it's just it's so important too, like, with RAM to find, and I think I used to have this block of like, if there's not enough there, we shouldn't talk about it. But now I'm almost like, even if it weren't for that podcast, like still have the conversation about people like this in history that have always been erased, that don't deserve to be erased.
This is history.
This is her story.
This is her story. Wow. I loved it, Tess.
Oh, good. I really loved it too.
I know you guys did too. That was fascinating. Go off, Mary.
Go off, Mary. We love you.
We do.
So yeah, guys, that's that. And
thanks. What's that Hillary Duff thing?
Oh.
Just like, thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. She's drunk. She's slow motion. Next week we will have on premium.
Oh yes, Amy Winehouse.
And then we will have a re-release on the main feed. We're going to re-release Old Hollywood as a little homage to our beautiful
city,
LA.
And how it came to be, and award season's coming up too. So Old Hollywood, we talk about like how the studios were built.
I love that episode.
But just how LA actually came to be a city too.
Oh,
yeah.
The best.
But guys, so much more fun things ahead. We can't wait. We're so glad to be back again.
We're so glad. February is going to also be February is going to be crazy.
But that's RAM.
That's RAM. We're going to have just a wide variety. I think you guys are going to be very excited.
Me too. And if you loved this episode, please share it on social, share it with your friends, and give us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Make sure you're subscribed as well.
Yeah, we're waiting for a little new review.
Yeah, we really are. Make it nice.
We love you guys.
Love you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.